Welcome everybody to today's session of Sustainability is Better Business. Today we're going to have two speakers, Jan and Amanda. And the working title is How Pre-Competitive Trust Can Boost Demand in a Circular Economy. Well, I will pass on the word directly to you, and you can take it from here, Jan.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for inviting us and talk a bit about the work that we are doing in the circular economy. Can you see my screen? Not yet, but now you can. So basically, we will show you or talk you through and have a discussion around these two examples. One is the Mattress Alliance, where Amanda will present, and the other one is the Workwear Goes Circular project that I am responsible for from the Einkaufskompass project. And basically, yeah, we are transforming linear businesses, and we cannot do it alone. And as we are part of a larger ecosystem of the circular economy in Switzerland, we really always go out and ask people to help us also, because this is new territory. Doing this kind of business model innovation ecosystem orchestration is mandatory for the circular economy to go circular, and at the same time we don't have decades or centuries of experience. Amanda is from Pusch, and I am from Magicprojects. I have my own company called Magicprojects, and here it starts to get complex already, because we are both working at the Einkaufskompass project since a year now, and at the same time the Mattress Alliance project is a project that is much older than Einkaufskompass. It was done by Pusch, and I've been part with Magicprojects in the Mattress project, where Amanda will walk us through in a few seconds. So yeah, it's complex, and we are already starting in the complexity in terms of how we are set up and who is who and who is doing what. I try to make it as clear, as simple as possible in these slides. So Pusch is part of the Einkaufskompass, Magic is part of the Einkaufskompass, ÖBU, the Sustainability Association, is part of Einkaufskompass, Shift Switzerland is part of Einkaufskompass, and also Swiss Cleantech is associated with us. But the Matratsen project is not part of the Einkaufskompass. It's one of the pioneering, I would say, Amanda, one of the pioneering projects in an industry. And I think I stopped talking here, but before I let you go, just two slides from yesterday, where we had the first presentation on the status of about circular economy in Switzerland. And you can see on the left side some industries on their innovation level, and on the right X where they are in terms of the at the moment, and you can see different industries. And what was very interesting to see or to hear yesterday is that only 10%, or Amanda says it's already 10%. I was saying it's only 10% of the companies are actually substantially doing circular economy, and a lot of companies out there are actually having no clue and are just waiting, which is a bit of an interesting thing to watch in the circular economy. We don't dive deep into circular economy as such in this session, but there's a very interesting history and also future for circular economy in Switzerland. And I'm very, very curious to see where this is going, given the number of limited years that we are having to get from 10% to 100%. It will be a very heavy transformation that we have to do. And we can, as I said, cannot do it alone. We have to need politics. We have to have multi-stakeholder collaboration. But I'll stop here and give it over to Amanda to dive deep into a very concrete project around circular economy and an industry. Amanda, over to you.
Okay, what I wanted to, I'm going to try to keep it simple. We both work on projects together. Circular economy is really, you really need the dialogue. You really need to start with multiple stakeholders. And what a lot of people right now are starting to do is trying to move circular economy from the model to a practical level. And as it always is with models that you read about, you think, okay, now I think I get it, and you want to try, and then you realize how difficult it actually is. So with all the loops in circular economy, we try to pick one and keep it simple. And what I wanted to do now with this presentation is show you how did we go forward, because actually the whole choice about mattresses or furniture is pretty much not exactly a random choice, but it was a choice. Which sector would we start with? Where could we find examples how to transform the economy in Switzerland? Could that actually work? And this is how we went forward. So this project is about 3 years old, almost 3 years old. And Jan said I should go backwards. So what we did in September is we actually founded a Mattress Alliance. Go on, Jan. Yeah, those are one of those pictures that are not that impressive people together, but look who we got to work with us. A lot of partners in Switzerland working on mattresses. We actually found out that Swiss people buy a lot of Swiss mattresses, and they spend more than half of any other country on mattresses, and mattresses are made in Switzerland. So we started to work with these people. Please go on. One of the results or one of the goals behind this project, which is not a startup, it's a project that is funded by donors, was finding a pilot. So if you're going to be recycling mattresses, what's going to happen with them? So the pilot project is actually one example you could make out of used mattresses or a sofa. Let's go on. How did we start? This looks kind of easy, but let me just tell you that the whole way there is really complicated. Yes, you set a goal. So if you see that you think that you want to do circular economy, well, what is actually the goal of all the possibilities, all the ways to go for creating circular economies? We actually want less mattresses incinerated in Switzerland. And we sketched out the options. How can you get there? Through recycling mattresses, through making mattresses, bring them back soon, or do you want to prolong them, use them longer? That will also make less mattresses be incinerated, or a circular business model. So that'd be like a sharing, longer use. And we said you have to identify all the key players. So that's really, if you think about the mattresses, it's from the designers to the foam producers to the textile producers to the mattress producers and the retailers, and then again the waste management. So where do those mattresses go actually after they're being used, and which way do they take? And then you talk to all of those, talk to some people in all of those sectors to get more information. So the challenge that I'm in now also with the Compass is that I feel that I have to know everything, but you don't actually have to know everything, because you actually do get lost when you know too much, and there's so much to know. So one of the things is take a step back and feel not bad about taking a step back, because you're not in it. You might see more from the perspective. So we actually found out like there's only one foam producer in Switzerland. Isn't that crazy? So all the mattresses that are made in Switzerland are made through one foam producer, and if you can get him to play, then yeah, then it's easy. Of course, you can't mess up and ask him first, because if he says no, you're really screwed. But these are all the lessons that we won along the way, and those are the things I want to share with you. So what we did then is we brought those players, and you kind of have to bluff a bit, because you know who the big players are you really want, and you don't want to mess up with them. So you kind of start with the small ones, and then they're already on board, and then you tell everyone about it. In the end, we were really surprised, Jan, huh? who we got to the Shift conference, because it was kind of like the last 24 hours people were actually, woo, they're coming too? Okay, so we got them all together in an animating setting, and Jan is actually really good at that. That's why I like the name Magicprojects, because he does his magic. There's a little film here. I don't know what you want to see this little film. It's very short.
Yeah, let's play it.
Yeah.
Can you see?
I'm gonna let in my cat. No sound, Jan?
I have sound, but you don't have it, huh?
No.
Are you having sound or not?
Nope.
No sound.
What do I have to do to get the sound going?
Just like share the sound, I don't know.
Virtual sound driver, we need to install this before.
Okay. So
there's a lot of cute people walking around the Shift conference, and
okay, so we don't have the audio, but I can translate a bit. So
these are people from mattress companies. Those are pieces of mattresses. And this is our very inspiring example from England, a guy that recycles actually thousands and thousands of mattresses in the UK, showing that it is actually possible. Okay, I guess that wasn't much more than some nice pictures since we didn't get the sound, but I think you might kind of get the message by seeing that it's an animated exchange, and these are people that don't usually meet, and they're working on the same product, and people like meeting across the sector. That's kind of a lesson that there's this common energy, like we can do it. I guess that's what I wanted to show with that film. We go back to the presentation. So what do we do with them? We started by finding a common definition of circular economy, which is not so much peanuts, and brought the examples from the UK, the guy who recycles mattresses, and he tells you what the problem is. How do you get that all on the truck, and how do you squish them? How do you take them apart? What kind of a machine does he have? Who pays for the machine? All the questions that we wouldn't actually come up with, but everyone from their own perspective has different questions. And then there's an example of the circular mattresses that are made in Holland. And then this is the easy part. Let time work, because I was just Googling circular mattresses after I haven't done that for the past 2 years. And it's just really incredible what has happened since then. And I'm not going to say that's because of us. It's because of a lot of people in the world realize that we don't have enough resources and we have to do something about it. And now there are actually not so few companies actually talking about circular economy and mattresses. So let time and like the fear of missing out work for you. And I think the launch of the study that came out yesterday also moves things forward, because Jan says only 10%. I say, wow, 10% already of the hundreds of thousands of companies in Switzerland are actually thinking, gosh, there's something going on. I need to be part of it. So what we do is we talk about circular economy as much as possible and let everyone talk about it. And we don't necessarily always call it circular economy. Why do circular mattresses make sense? Well, actually, there's about 1 million mattresses that are disposed of per year in Switzerland. This cat is driving me nuts. I'm sorry. Going to be famous. Recycling mattresses works in other countries, like in France, like in the UK, like in the US. There's a huge large environmental potential. Of course, that also depends on how are things disposed of in your own country. Like in the UK, they still have landfills, so it's not the same thing as incineration in Switzerland because they burn quite well. I just think we could do something better than just burn them. We chose a product that is big, so the reverse logistics is a pain. You don't want to keep your old mattresses, they're just in your way. So a lot of those mattresses are taken back upon delivery, the old ones, and that gives you the possibility of getting your hands back on it and doing something with it. And there's actually, a machine for recycling of these mattresses, and we calculated in Switzerland that you need about 300,000 pieces of mattresses a year to make it worthwhile to do that recycling. Jan, okay. So the next step is really, which we already did. You could find that on the website on Make Mattresses Circular, is a mapping of the sector and of the calculations. And then we're launching that recycling pilot project with that recycling machine that takes the mattresses apart within, I think, 2 minutes into all separate pieces. And then we need a life cycle analysis of the logistics of that collection and the recycling to see what the costs are and what the benefits are. And then, of course, if you have the mattress recycling, you need to find out a market for those secondary materials. So I guess that's all for just now.
Thanks. Some lessons, and then we can go to the questions. And yeah.
So what I kind of, it was just nice to look back after those few years, because it helps me for the next projects we're working on. So the lessons are kind of let go. You can't control it all, and if you get the professional stakeholders together, they all have their own interests, so you can really trust them to find their own benefits. You don't have to serve it to them. And use a vehicle, or just like an industry association. Well, with the mattresses, there wasn't one. That's why we built this Mattress Alliance, because that gives you a space, like a free space, where that dialogue can actually take place. And the other secret ingredient is really the competition between the companies. So if you see Riposa is coming to the workshop, then Hilding Anders comes as well. So that really helps. When, I mean, it's like the whole thing about, Migros and Coop, you can't bring them into the same meeting. Well, try making a meeting with one of them and the other one finds out. So that really helps for the pull.
Thank you, Amanda. On this slide, there's a safe space and there's a competition on it, and I think that builds the bridge to the topic of this call, which is how can we actually get this trust in circular economy, this pre-competitive trust, and this project is really a good example. How long it takes, what it takes, and how it actually looks and feels like. So, any questions at that point regarding the Make Mattresses or Make Furniture Circular? Maybe, Amanda, you want to say something about the financing model, because if we talk about orchestration in a circular economy in industry, like what we're doing with Einkaufskompass, the business case is sort of not given, because you need, that also shows the research, you need to have an orchestration party, which in that case was Pusch, but maybe you can say something about how you got financed.
Well, like I said, it's a project. It wasn't a startup. So we got financed by Pioneer Fund from Migros that wanted to push circular economy in Switzerland. They wanted concrete examples. So that's how open it was at the beginning of our discussions. Concrete examples, whatever. And that's kind of like the Einkaufskompass right now. But if you talk about financing models, what we did afterwards is, by building this Mattress Alliance, you're going to have membership fees. And those recycling machines need to be financed. So that's why we did that life cycle analysis to find out what could actually be. So people are paying for the mattresses that you hand over when you get your new one. They're paying between 40 and like 90 when you hand over your trashed mattress. So that money can be used. And then again, the material that you win through the recycling. So that's all part of the calculation.
Okay, any more questions?
I would have a question. Maybe goes down in the direction of trust, but for example, in this specific business case, like always with circular models, once the whole circle is there, it's easy to see the benefits and the value. But how do you convince the individual actors to do this first step, to bring them to, for example, that initial workshop? What incentives can you give them, promise them?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's a really hard answer. What I can say is it worked, but we were really, I mean, picking around saying, how did it actually work? So here, actually that foam partner, for some reason, the project manager and that person just hit it off. I guess a lot of it is about chemistry, because if you're a little, what doesn't help is if you're, we're not even a little environmental organization. So an environmental organization calling like the biggest producer of mattresses in Switzerland and saying that we would like to do circular economy for you. No. What is it you want from me? That doesn't work. So that's really, I mean, the question of who you are and why you're doing it, gosh, I wish I had a shortcut there, because they don't really give you the credibility. They're like, you know, we're doing it, it works. I think the key is actually bringing people together. I think actually bringing people together and saying, hey guys, we have a problem. Maybe what helped in the case of mattresses is there was a scandal that you could find in the press a couple of years ago, since there was only like one foam producer. All the mattresses had this real problem because there was something toxic in it. So they all had the problem at the same time of the toxicity. Maybe that helped for the awareness, and maybe the competition from abroad.
And I think also the realization that, oh gosh, we are actually burning each year like 700,000 mattresses, and just imagine the height of tower that is burned. And because of our business model of selling more mattresses faster, limiting the number of years of sleep of the consumers, and gosh, we're actually part of the problem. And we actually, it's not going so, does not feel so good to be part of a machine industry that is burning like a hell of a food.
Can't we do better?
Huh?
I said, can't we do better? Don't we have a better idea than burning them? Because I mean, seriously, within the process, and I mean, I'm doing the same thing now with the white goods. Basically, I call up the guys from the incineration. They go, mattresses? That's not a problem. We use them to like scrub the floor of the Werkhof, and I'm like, no, that's not the answer I wanted. Yeah, I kind of, at the moment, from where I am, I think the challenge is good. I think people like challenges. This is a tough one. How could we solve this together?
And then it's an awareness question as well. If I can make the bridge to the workwear, it's like, what is the awareness like of the sector and of the individuals working in the sector on that topic? And there you usually have to work a bit on the awareness first, which is by inviting, which is by phoning and say, hello, we are from Pusch. You have a problem. Oh, do we? It's like you're building this awareness with each like intervention that you're doing, and then ideally you get something going because the collective awareness is rising on the topic.
Let me tell you, Jan, at the beginning you weren't there. It was tough.
Okay.
It was tough. The guy from Möbel Schweiz, he's like, no. And we pitched, and we went in, two of us, and then like Christian pitched, and the guy's like, no. And then I pitched, and he's like, no. And then like maybe like the fifth idea, we're like, I've got an idea. Let me try this one. You've got to, I mean, don't forget that these are people, I mean, they have the mattress or the furniture business is like its own business. You're coming in from the outside, you know. I mean, you have no idea, and you're coming in and you're like, I have an idea. I don't think that's an easy role. It's a lot better if you can say, hey, did you see there's this guy in England, he's actually recycling mattresses. Did you see there's a company in Holland, they're actually making circular mattresses. Don't you guys want to do that too?
Yeah, I think we're already in the middle of it. And how do we get trust in an industry and to get the pre-competitive collaboration kicking in? And that's why I chose this comic, which you may have seen on the slides, like the lost people in the desert, because it's actually it is like that. Any more questions before I can jump to the few other slides of it's just a few slides on the workwear.
No, just if we have time, but probably after your slot is, what does the solution really look like? Because I understand that you're recycling somehow, but how is the business model? Do they earn the same amount of money, etc.? But we can have to answer this afterwards. Just to understand, do they make better business now, the mattress producers, or do they sleep better at night? But don't answer now, otherwise.
You're trying to say it's a good question. You know what the scary part about it is? You're actually going in to convince people and you don't know the solution. You have to go in there and say, I have an idea, but you don't actually know the solution yourself. So you have to just go in there like a wild discoverer and say, we're looking for something. We don't exactly know what, but it has to be better. It's exploring.
As said, it's new territory, and I can maybe make some also some remarks about your question, Jörg, on my presentation on how is that actually concretely looking like what is the business model and what is a circular business model and actually what is circular canvas and I will come back to that in a minute. So let me just share the screen and then I try to make it shorter that we can have more time for discussion, and I don't have so many slides as Amanda because the presentation and the project itself is not so old as the mattresses. So that's also why I have something to tell. So basically, just a very quick slide about Einkaufskompass. We are founded by the MAVA Foundation alongside with Workwear Goes Circular, which is our sister project working in public procurement. And we got funded and we got the project because we are having, as I said, a bunch of great partners together to boost the demand side and with lighthouse projects to get the purchasing and demanding side going for the circular economy, because yes, it's more expensive to purchase circular economy products and services, and the purchase department is basically not an easy nut to crack in that regard. Yeah, it's definitely more than just crunching numbers and changing some subscription or some public tender requirements and getting the laws going. It's much more than that. It's actually changing the whole company if you go into circular economy. And what we are doing with the Einkaufskompass is just the very first intervention steps, basically. And as I said, we are also exploring and pioneering this domain. It's orchestration work. We now know from the University of St. Gallen that you actually need to have such an orchestration work to be going, because otherwise everybody in the value chain will sit in its own little nice heated house. And you need to catalyze, as Amanda said, and at the same time, it's also a lot about, and that goes back to the question from you about the business model. And it's also, we have to relearn business model innovation in the circular economy. I come back to that in a second, because it's not linear business model innovation. And here you can see, on one slide, basically the timeline of the Workwear Goes Circular project. We decided to go for the workwear as a first project in the Einkaufskompass because it's already very close to circular economy, the workwear industry. At the same time, it's a very conservative company, and that's what we realized that when we started in August 2020. It actually takes a hell lot of work to build that trust in the pre-competitive space if you have a very conservative and a very not regulated, but a very highly hot market, which is the case in the workwear and in the textile in Switzerland. So there's a lot of going on. We tried a lot of formats. Then Corona kicked in. We couldn't do any physical workshops, as you also suffered. from that. And then we were lucky to have found the Hochschule Luzern, which is actually doing a pre-study at the moment, finishing it on an InnoCheck process and then we actually want to get an Inno-Swiss project going. But what we did with Einkaufskompass is actually build these trust workshops in the value chain, inviting people, going out, making them aware, as Amanda said, on the issue of at the end basically burned textiles at the end of the lifespan, and that's a lot of material that gets also burned and not reused. Yeah, we also did some one-to-one workshops with the two largest washing service providers. And what we actually did with the University of St. Gallen in just last week was also a trust building workshop, but we were actually working with the pattern cards. They developed the pattern cards, which is a 40 pattern cards on the circular economy business model innovation. They did some research and they also publishing a lot. It's from the BMI lab. It's a spin-off of the University of St. Gallen. And they developed these 40 cards and we tried that out and worked with these cards for half a day and worked quite nicely. And we are actually now in the phase of sketching out lighthouse projects for 2022. So you could say we basically had 1.5 years to sort of build the trust, get the people together, see who is there, who wants to work, who is ready for that, who has the awareness, and that just takes time. That's one of the learnings of that process. That's again here like the circular canvas from the University of St. Gallen, the pattern cards, like the 40 patterns around this 4-loop interventions, and then also our possible paths that we could go. Decide what is the impact going these different paths, and then finding the way forward. And as I said, this is not an easy thing to do, which you can plan and then execute. It's a lot about sensing, building the trust, about sensing into an industry, finding the right players, people. And the first workshop here you can see in August was quite interesting to see and disappointing also to have the producers and the workwear and then the companies who order the workwear actually sitting opposite to each other and not even talking to each other in a workshop, because there's so much stuff in the linear system that is built into the industry that that was a very good learning experience for us, to bring these people in one room and then realizing that they actually don't talk to each other and they don't want to talk to each other. That was the kind of the beginning. That's an interim summary from the perspective Einkaufskompass. As I said, it's not easy to do that, and it is more expensive to get to these products and services that have a circular model behind. And the orchestration, I was already talking about that. How do we actually do business model innovation? Like, what is on the circular canvas? How do we get a circular mode? And what kind of lighthouse projects do we need? How do they interconnect so that it's actually not a linear model? That has a lot to do with, was also in the workshop last week, realizing that it has a lot to do with the awareness of the people actually being in the sector of the leaders in the companies, that they first have to totally, even if it's already a kind of circular business model in the workwear, washing this clothes and stuff, it's for them, it's like thinking circular and is a total mindset shift, not only for themselves, but especially also for the companies. And that's what I'm saying earlier. At the end of the day, doing a business model innovation or having a circular business model in place will totally disrupt your company and the way how you do business. And that is that slide that I wanted to share. So we can use the rest of the time to maybe have some very small conversations about people who care, which is a very nice quote. I like that a lot. because we also always talk about a big change. We need a big transformation. We need a lot of sustainability, and we need 90% of companies now in Switzerland in 9 years to go circular, or 8 years left to go circular. But where is the great change actually coming from? Like 90% of the businesses in 8 years transforming to circular economy. That's quite a great change. Huh? But where does it actually start? And I think the trust is really starting in these very small conversations. And then you have just to find the people who actually care and want to have the conversations. But that's also almost a little bit philosophical now. And I think I end the presentation, and we can maybe have the rest of the minutes to discuss.
Thank you so much. Already
Do you do the moderation, Andrea, for the discussion, or shall I do it?
Yeah, I can do it, but we'll come out organically.
Okay, cool.
I really like the two parts, because one is like supply driven, the other is demand driven. And now coming back to the mattress example, now in this usual startup framework, you have a problem to solve, and the problem is like market driven. So the consumers, they want something or they don't want something, and you're finding a solution for it. But you did it the other way around. You just went to the suppliers and said, hey, you have to move. So what is your take on this, or what are your thoughts, or what did you motivate? Because, well,
guess what? We learned. Now we do it demand. Now we're doing that's why it's Einkaufskompass. But you can't always wait. You can't always wait. No, we learned that it would be better to do it from the demand side.
Okay. And now in the first case is a mattress, I say recycling or whatever. Two questions. One is, how do you assess the impact? Because recycling in general is not necessarily good, for example, for CO2. So do you have a positive CO2 or what you think? So question one. And on the other side, are these mattress companies now earning more money because of this, or?
Jan always said it was an old project. So we started, I mean, I don't even know, I don't think it was 3 years ago where we signed the contract. So it hasn't been 3 years that we've been working on it, and we only just founded the Mattress Alliance. So not that much has happened. I was speaking about mattress recycling because that was one of the examples that we found internationally. And what we did now is we have that calculation. You can find that online, you know, for Switzerland, for the mattress recycling. But that doesn't mean it's the best way, and that doesn't mean it's the only way. We already have in Switzerland, of course, that was all part of the process, the business model with the rental mattresses that actually exists. I found today online that there are other companies that do that too now in Austria, especially good for the hotel industry during lockdowns, because they don't actually pay for the mattresses unless someone sleeps in them. It's, you know, the chance that we took that kind of showed up that it could be profitable. And I think one question is, I mean, you go in there and you don't know what is better. So you're like, okay, are we gonna make simpler? You know, you could basically make simpler mattresses that are like easier to replace because they're not that complex, or you make them so good that you can keep them forever. So we didn't know. And no, I can't tell you that they're making more money at all. No, not at all. I mean, we're far from that.
It's very early industry, so to say, a very early industry market also doing this kind of work that we are doing. And of course, we would love to measure more of the CO2 impacts. We would love to measure more on the turnovers of bringing that's all in the making. Like the study from yesterday, which was now for the first time bringing the figures up for Switzerland about circular economy, is like, that's where we are. It's the first time that we actually have numbers about where are the companies. So yeah,
it's really learning by doing. I mean, yeah, we know that it can't go on this way, and we're looking for another way. And sometimes you have to start with the recycling before you can go to the reuse.
The tricky part is we have to define who we are, because we know that there is a problem. Not necessarily all the companies know this, as long as they're selling their products. So
that's the thing. Yep.
Big questions coming up.
No, super hard. It's super hard. But I mean, at the same time, looking back, it's kind of exciting because we did learn. That's how I tried to make that presentation on what did we actually learn, because Jan and I are working, we're working forward on these I'm working on the white goods sector. And basically what I'm telling you today is actually, I should actually be internalizing that. I haven't yet. You have to be crazy, courageous, wild, experimental, and actually like not know what you're doing.
And you need a business model your own in the long term.
Yeah, that too. But you know what? It's fun.
And it maybe leads some crazy guys like us to do that.
Yeah.
No, I just talked to a packaging giant, and their focus there now is monomaterial packaging, because the whole rest for them is too complicated. So at least you know what material is made of, and then they wait for people to pick up this opportunity of collecting single material.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. There's so much to do. Everybody can start right away doing stuff. It's like you don't have to wait for the super measured business plan, CO2 impact. No, it's just like get your hands dirty, start somewhere. It's a circle. You can jump in at any point.
Nobody knows how it goes, so we're all gonna make mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Cool. I think we are over time. Already one person dropped out, so I think we'll leave it here now. Andrea?
Sure. Then again, from my side, thank you so much for joining us, giving us this presentation and this opportunity to ask you some questions and to hear your answers. And thank you for your time.
Oh, she's coming back. Cool. Thank you.
I'm fine. Thank you. I was drinking water.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much. And let's see where the journey takes us, Jörg. I totally got your message about what is our own business model. We are actually thinking about that because our funding will officially end in a year, and the work will not be done in a year.
Thank you for the insights and also for your optimism to change things. Yeah.
Cool. Keep in touch, and let's keep on transforming the world.
Okay. Bye.